Level 1. The recruit. You are 18 years old. You don't enlist in the SAS. No one does. You enlist in the British Army, and if you are exceptional, relentless, and lucky in the right order, you find your way to a bus depot outside Hereford on a grey October morning in 1984. Kit bag between your boots, trying to look as though you've slept. You haven't slept. Which rank would you stop at? Think about it. And drop your answer in the comments right now. The regiment doesn't do introductions. A staff sergeant in civilian clothes hands you a map reference, a Bergen packed to 25 kilograms, and says, "Fan dance? You have 4 hours and 10 minutes. You've been warned enough to know what it is. A 24-kilometre route march over Penny Fan, the highest peak in the Brecon Beacons. In full kit. In Welsh autumn weather, under time. You start running before the others do. Penny Fan doesn't care. The wind is coming from the northwest. The path turns to bog within the first kilometre, and your boots pull with every step as though the earth itself is reconsidering your application. The instructors call it Hills Phase. 3 weeks of increasing distances, increasing weights, decreasing time windows. No encouragement. No one tells you whether you are passing or failing. You are assessed constantly and informed never. Every morning, you check the notice board to see if your number is still on it. By week 2, your feet are bleeding inside your boots. You stop mentioning it. All 22 remaining men are bleeding inside their boots. The man on the bunk above you, a para named Granger who ran 3 marathons before selection, weeps quietly on Thursday night. By Friday morning, he is back on the hill. By Friday evening, his number is gone from the board. You don't weep. You don't know if this is strength or simply the absence of anything left to feel. On the final day of Hills Phase, you navigate 30 kilometres alone with a compass and a 6-figure grid reference, in fog so dense you can see 4 metres ahead. You reach the finish point 17 minutes inside the cutoff. The instructor marks something in a waterproof notebook. He says nothing. He never says anything. You pass Hills Phase. You are not told this directly. You are simply handed orders for continuation training. This is how the SAS tells you that you have survived one part, by handing you the next part immediately, without pause, without ceremony. Level 2. The Trooper. You are 20 years old. You passed selection. That sentence will never leave you. It will also never be enough. Not in this building, not among these men. Continuation training lasts 22 weeks. Combat survival, resistance to interrogation, signals, demolitions, SF parachute techniques, and enough emergency medicine to keep a man breathing with equipment you carry in your thigh pocket. The interrogation phase runs 4 days, hooded, sleep-deprived, questioned repeatedly. For 91 hours, you give only name, rank, number, and date of birth. On the final morning, a man in civilian clothes removes your hood. You don't react. You don't know if this is real or another layer of the exercise. It is real. You've passed. You are assigned to B Squadron, Boat Troop. Your first specialist course is Combat Diver Qualification at Fort William. The water in Loch Linney in February is 7 degrees. Your instructor, a WO, named McAuley, tells you on day 1 that discomfort and danger are separate things, and confusing them will get you killed. Your first operational deployment is the Falkland Islands, 1986. Not combat, but a garrison rotation, maintaining the British presence established after the 1982 war. You patrol the coastline in 4-man teams, watching for patterns along the Argentine border. Nothing happens. This is what the majority of the SAS is. Long stretches of nothing, executed with precision, for a threat that may or may not materialize. You understand now why so many soldiers attempt selection and why so few last beyond their first tour. The glory they imagined isn't here. What's here is patience, cold, and professional silence. One night, your patrol partner Walsh sits beside you on a cliff top, looking out toward the South Atlantic, and asks, "Do you ever think about what the other lads are doing right now?" You think about it for a moment. The wind off the water is constant. The lights of Stanley are visible to the south. Then you say, "No." Walsh nods. He doesn't ask again. That is the answer that keeps you in this job. Level 3, the Lance Corporal. You are 24 years old. You are now responsible for 3 men. In the SAS, there is no such thing as provisional leadership. You lead a 4-man patrol. 3 men watch what you do and calibrate their own performance against it. There is no rank beneath which you can coast. There is no day where leadership is someone else's problem. It is 1990. You are deployed to the Gulf ahead of Operation Granby, the British contribution to the coalition response after Saddam Hussein's invasion of Kuwait in August. Your patrol is inserted by helicopter into southern Iraq, tasked with establishing a forward observation post and reporting on Iraqi military movement along the Basra-Kuwait road. The insertion goes cleanly. The first 24 hours go cleanly. On the second night, a Bedouin goat herd walks through your position at 3 a.m. He is an old man. He sees you. He stops. He looks at you for 3 full seconds. Then he walks on. You and your patrol lie completely still for the next 4 hours. At first light, you report the possible compromise to Hereford and await instructions. The instructions are to hold position and assess. You hold, you assess. The goat herd does not return with company. By mid-afternoon, your patrol reports the position appears uncompromised. You continue the task. Your most junior man, a trooper named Erskine, who is 20 and has been in the regiment 8 months, asks you afterwards, "How did you know he wouldn't talk?" You say, "I didn't. I made the best decision available with what I had in front of me. That's all there ever is." Erskine writes that down in his notebook. You see him do it, and you don't stop him. 3 months later, the Gulf War begins. Your intelligence feeds into the operational picture. You are not present for the ground war. You are already back in Hereford, preparing the next deployment. Your name appears nowhere in the published record of Operation Granby. This is not an oversight. This is the job. Before we go further, if you've made it this far, comment what you want next, hit that like button right now, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We upload every single day. Level 4, the Corporal. You are 27 years old. A corporal in the SAS commands a 4-man patrol as its confirmed, substantive leader. Not acting, not provisional. You have spent 9 years in uniform, 6 of them in the regiment, and the 4-man patrol is your native unit, the smallest self-sufficient fighting element in British Special Forces doctrine. 4 men, each a specialist. Demolitions, signals, medicine, languages, each cross-trained in the others. Small enough to move through terrain without signature. Large enough to generate fire from multiple angles. Treat a casualty and still extract. 4 is the number David Stirling chose when he founded the SAS in the Western Desert in 1941. Decades of operational history have confirmed it was correct. It is 1993. You are in Northern Ireland, running close target reconnaissance on farmhouses outside Dungannon, believed to be used by the Provisional IRA's East Tyrone Brigade for weapon storage and operational planning. You work in plain clothes, no army markings. A cover identity rehearsed until it is reflexive. One evening, you are in a pub for 45 minutes, sitting with a Guinness you are not drinking, watching who talks to whom, timing how long a man in a blue jacket stays near the payphone, noting the car parked across the road that was there on Tuesday as well. A man sits beside you. He is in his 50s. He knows you are not from here. He asks, in a voice designed to seem conversational, what line of work you are in. You tell him telecommunications, engineering. He asks which company. You give him the name of a real company with a real Dungannon contract. He asks if you know a man named Seamus from that office. You say you mostly work from the Armagh depot. He finishes his drink and leaves. Afterwards, your hands are completely steady. You have been trained for this. The steadiness is not courage. It is repetition, become reflex. The operation runs 7 weeks. The intelligence gathered contributes to a follow-up by RUC Special Branch. 2 weapons caches are found. None of your patrol's names appear in any document connected to the find. Level 5. The Sergeant. You are 31 years old. A. Sergeant in the SAS is the operational backbone. Officers provide direction. Troopers provide capability. The sergeant provides the connective tissue between intention and execution. And when those two things have nothing left in common, the sergeant is the one who finds a way to make the mission work anyway. It is 1997. You are in Sarajevo in the aftermath of the Dayton Agreement. The Bosnian War is formally over. The city has been under siege for nearly 4 years. The longest siege of a capital in the history of modern warfare. You are not here to fight. You are part of a joint British-American Special Forces advisory team supporting IFOR, assessing convoy routes, and monitoring demobilized paramilitary units. Buildings stand with their facades blown off, the rooms inside exposed like dolls' houses. The street once known as Sniper Alley is open now, but the windows above it still feel like eyes. One evening, a convoy your troop has certified as clear is stalled outside the city. A report, unverified from a local source, says a checkpoint on the designated route has been remanned by a former Bosnian Serb paramilitary commander not cooperating with IFOR. The convoy carries medical supplies. It has been waiting 11 hours. Rerouting it means another day of delay and another night of people in the city going without. You take 1 vehicle, 2 men, and drive to the checkpoint. The commander is armed. He has 12 men behind him. He is also drunk. And drunk men at checkpoints are more dangerous than sober ones because their calculation of consequence is impaired. You speak to him for 22 minutes through your interpreter. You do not raise your voice once. You do not reach for your weapon once. You tell him specifically what will happen to the checkpoint, the road, and his personal prospects if the convoy is not cleared within the hour. You say this in the tone of a man reading from a prepared document. He clears the convoy. Afterwards, the American lieutenant colonel running the convoy asks how you manage that. You say you just talked to him. He looks at you for a moment and says, "That is the most unimpressive answer I've ever heard from someone who just did something impressive." You accept the coffee he offers and say nothing else about it. Level 6. The Staff Sergeant. You are 35 years old. This rank changes what you are responsible for. A staff sergeant in the SAS shapes not just what a troop does, but how it thinks, how it prepares, and how it recovers when things go wrong. You are no longer simply leading men through missions. You are building the men who will lead missions for the next decade. It is 2000. You sit on the directing staff for a full Hills Phase selection cycle. 27 candidates, 3 weeks, the Bracon Beacons. You watch them the way you were once watched. The same waterproof notebooks, the same early mornings, the same absolute absence of feedback. One candidate interests you. His name is Pemberton, former 1 para, physically solid but unremarkable by SAS standards. What he has cannot be trained. He is the same person in every condition. Exhausted and near broken at the end of week 3, he moves and decides identically to how he did in week 1. He doesn't perform resilience. He simply has it. You write his name in the past column. Later that year, you deploy to Sierra Leone for Operation Barras, the rescue of British soldiers from the Royal Irish Regiment being held hostage by the West Side Boys rebel faction in the village of Gaberi Bana. It is September 10th, 2000. The operation lasts approximately 10 minutes of direct action. D Squadron leads the assault on the main hostage position. Your troop provides cutoff and flank security. The hostages are recovered. One British soldier, a D Squadron trooper named Bradley, is killed during the assault. You are back in Hereford within 48 hours. There is a debrief. There are reports. There is the specific weight of an operation that succeeded in its objective and still cost a life, and the way that weight sits differently than any other kind. The regiment buries its dead without much ceremony, not from coldness, from the understanding that grief, in this profession, must be metabolized rather than displayed, or it accumulates to a point that makes continuing impossible. You continue. Level 7, the Warrant Officer, Class 2. You are 39 years old. You are now the Squadron Sergeant Major of B. Squadron, a Warrant Officer. Class 2 holds authority by royal warrant, senior to every NCO in the squadron, with every commissioned officer, up to and including the Major, commanding it, deferring to your operational judgment on matters where experience outweighs rank. This is not a theory. It is the lived reality of how the SAS works. It is 2004. You are in Iraq. The insurgency that no one in the planning documents adequately anticipated has replaced conventional combat with IEDs and close-quarters ambushes in cities like Fallujah and Ramadi. Your squadron runs direct action operations against high-value targets in the Sunni Triangle: intelligence, planning, rehearsal, execution, cycling every 72 hours. In Hereford, you ran 2 or 3 significant operations per year. Here the operational cycle is continuous. One morning at 0300, post-operation debrief after a night raid on a safe house near Ramadi. The target was correct. The intelligence was accurate. The execution went to plan. And a trooper named Holloway broke the entry sequence during the breach, moving through the wrong doorway at the wrong moment and placing himself in the line of fire from his own patrol. Nobody was hurt. Holloway is sitting in the debrief, white-faced, knowing exactly what he did. You run the debrief for 2 hours. You do not soften what happened. You also do not destroy Holloway in front of his patrol. Humiliation teaches men to hide mistakes rather than report them. You make clear what went wrong and what happens to a mission when it goes wrong with less luck attached. Then you close the debrief. Holloway is still in the regiment 3 years later. He becomes one of the better corporals you will see in your time as SSM. That debrief is part of why. Level 8, the Warrant Officer Class 1. You are 43 years old. There is only one RSM in the regiment. One Warrant Officer Class 1, appointed Regimental Sergeant Major of 22 SAS, the most senior non-commissioned soldier in the most demanding regiment in the British Army. You have served 25 years to reach this. Every operation, every patrol, every decision made in 4 seconds with incomplete information. All of it has compacted into the person who now walks these corridors. You are precise, consistent, and honest. In this environment, that is the highest form of care available. It is 2007. The regiment is managing simultaneous rotations in Iraq and Afghanistan at a pace not seen since the Second World War. Men are completing back-to-back tours with 6-week recovery windows between them. You are watching the cost of it, not invisible breakdowns, because these are SAS soldiers, and visible breakdowns are not what happens, but in the subtler signs. Men running on memory rather than present awareness, judgments developing hairline fractures that only appear under specific load. You take the problem to the commanding officer, not as a complaint, as a facts-based operational assessment. You lay out what you are observing in the same tone you use to brief a mission, and recommend a rotation adjustment that will require going back to the MOD for approval. The CO listens. He implements the recommendation. The MOD approves a modified rotation framework 4 months later. You receive no credit in any document. The men who recover their full capability in the improved window don't know why the rotation changed. They just know they feel like themselves again. That is fine. You didn't do it for the record. One evening, a newly badged trooper stops you in the corridor. 3 months in the regiment, still carrying the stunned expression of a man who hasn't yet understood what he's achieved. He asks, "How do you know when you're actually good enough for this job?" You say, "When you stop asking that question, not because you're certain, but because you're too busy doing the job to wonder about it." He nods. You can see he doesn't fully understand. He will. Level 9, the commissioned officer. You are 46 years old. You have been offered a commission. A late entry commission, a direct route to lieutenant granted to an exceptional WO1 in recognition of operational experience no classroom can replicate. You accept it deliberately. The men who were once your peers now call you sir. You navigate the transition without trading on history. You hold the change as significant, because it is. As a captain, you command a troop in D Squadron, 16 men, some of whom have known you for years. The first time you brief them as an officer, you can see them reassessing you. The authority flows from a different source now. You have to earn it again. You know how. It is 2009, Helmand Province, Afghanistan. Your troop runs partnered operations with Afghan National Army commandos along the Helmand River. The insurgency here is patient, adaptive, and deeply embedded in the local population. On one operation, your Afghan partner, a young officer leading his own element, freezes at a compound entry point under fire. He is making a decision and cannot make it. You are directly behind him in the stack. You could step in front of him, take the call, and clear the compound. It would work. It would also confirm every assumption about Western superiority that undermines the entire partnership model and ensures that when British forces eventually leave, nothing capable remains behind. You wait 4 seconds. Then you lean forward and say quietly, directly into his ear, "Your call. I'm right behind you." He makes the entry. The compound is cleared. He says nothing to you about those 4 seconds afterwards. Neither do you. 3 months later, that officer is running his own operations without British mentoring. The 4 seconds cost nothing. They bought considerably more. Level 10, Squadron Commander. You are 50 years old. You command B Squadron. 64 men, 4 troops, the full architecture of Special Forces capability, air, boat, mountain, and mobility troops, each with its own insertion specialization, each carrying years of individual expertise. You are responsible for their readiness, their operational deployment, their welfare, and their development. When B Squadron goes out, you answer for what they do and how they do it. This is the summit of what a man can reach who began here at 18 with a kit bag and a map reference outside Hereford. It has taken 32 years. It is 2014. Your squadron operates across 3 theatres simultaneously. Technology has compressed the intelligence cycle. Drones and signals intercepts have accelerated the timeline from intelligence to action to the point where decisions that once ran over days now run over hours. Speed and accuracy don't always travel together. The consequences of acting on imperfect intelligence are borne by the men you send. One morning, a targeting package arrives on your desk. The intelligence is strong, but not definitive. A high-value target located with a 78% confidence rating. The window is narrow. The request from Joint Special Operations Command is to authorize within 8 hours. You read the package 3 times. You call your intelligence officer in. You ask 7 specific questions. He answers 6 of them fully and 1 partially. The partial answer concerns the secondary access point of the target location, whether it is guarded or open. A small thing. The kind of thing that becomes very large, very fast when men are moving through a doorway in the dark. You sit with that partial answer for 40 minutes. You do not authorize. You send back a request for the missing intelligence strand. It comes in 6 hours later. Confidence rating moves to 91%. You authorize. The operation goes. The target is confirmed. Your squadron comes home. The 40 minutes go unrecorded. But they are the reason the operation ran at 91% instead of 78. And the reason every man in your squadron is having breakfast in Hereford the following morning, rather than becoming the subject of a follow-on inquiry. There is a Tuesday afternoon in late autumn when a recognition ceremony takes place at Stirling Lines. Accumulated honours, long service, the kind of event the regiment holds with minimal fanfare and wraps up inside an hour. You stand and receive what is offered. Hands are shaken. A photograph is taken. Afterwards, in the corridor, a newly badged trooper glances at the medal on your chest and then back at your face, clearly wanting to ask something, but not quite sure whether to. You spare him the decision. "It's not about the medal," you say. It never was. You walk out of Stirling Lines into the Hereford evening. Behind you, the lights are on in the planning rooms. They are always on. Somewhere in Wales, at 4 a.m, a new intake is looking at a notice board and checking for their number. The Hill doesn't know their names yet. It will.